was able to get memorial service, order of service there. On your table there should be several. Before I get started, I do want to give a shout out to Henry. Henry's the one who puts all this together, but obviously with the situation with his son, he's not able to be with us. And so I am going to go through this, but really I didn't put this together. Henry's the one who did all the work. And so if you see Henry, let him know how thankful you are for the work that he does for the Lions Club and for our community. You'll notice in your order of service that we start our time with a call to celebration. We are here to celebrate and remember 4 lions that mean a lot to this club, and 4 lions who we gather here today on the backs of. Because of their work, we're able to be here. And without these 4 and others like them, we would not be the club that we are today. So we are called today to celebrate and to remember these great lions. If you would, there's a responsive reading there in the order of service. I be the leader and you be the people. And so if we could read that together, let us do so now. Lord, thou hast been our dwelling place in all generations. Before the mountains were brought forth, wherever thou hast formed the earth and the world, even from everlasting to everlasting, thou art God. When I consider thy heavens, the work of thy fingers, the moon and the stars, which thou hast ordained, what is man that thou art mindful of him, and the Son of Man that thou visitest him? For 1,000 years in thy sight are but as yesterday when it is past, and as a watch in the night. The days of our years are 80 years and 10, and if by reason of strength they be 4 years, yet is their strength labor and sorrow, for it is soon cut off, and we fly away. So teach us to number our days, that we may apply our hearts unto wisdom. O satisfy us early with thy mercy, that we may rejoice and be glad all our days. Let thy work appear unto thy servants, and thy glory unto their children. And let the beauty of the Lord our God be upon us, and establish thou the work of our hands upon us. Yea, the work of our hands establish thou it. At this time, I'd invite Lion Steve Townley to lead us in the hymn that is posted there, How Great Thou Art. If we could please stand together. Is that all right, Lion Steve? The world thy hands have made. I see the stars. I hear the rolling thunder. Thy power throughout the universe displayed. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. As you entered the room today, you may have noticed the small table here at the front placed in honor of the missing lions. It is set for one, and the table is our way as Lions of symbolizing the fact that there are members of our organization of Lions Club that are missing from our midst on a day like today. And so it is on this day that we have chosen to remember them at this time. The table that sits before us is round to represent the circle of life. The tablecloth that sits upon the table is white, symbolizing the purity of their service to the community, their loved ones, and to those in need. There's a candle placed upon the white tablecloth on the table, and the candle is lit. The light from the candle symbolizes the light that they have given us by their unconquerable spirit. In the bowl sitting upon the table is a pinch of salt, and that salt symbolizes the sweat of their labors and the tears endured by those left behind. On the plate on the table is a piece of bread, and the bread is there to symbolize the fruits of their efforts, the seeds that they planted so that we may enjoy the harvest they have given to us all through their work. There is a glass inverted that sits upon the table, symbolizing that they cannot celebrate with us on this day. We celebrate without them being physically here with us. And the chair pulled up alongside the table is empty, for they are no longer here. The call to remember is a call that we hear as we look upon this table. All of you who served with them, all of you who called them lions, who depended upon their aid and relied upon their wisdom, for surely they have not forsaken you. They chose to be lions until the day of their passing, and it falls upon us to continue the work that they have started, to protect the legacy that they have entrusted to you and I as lions, and to guide the world to a vision of peace and service. At this time, we are going to remember each lion, and I'd like to call up Bobby Phillips to begin our time as he comes to share about Lion Danny Tinney.
I'm both extremely honored and extremely humbled to be asked to do this today. As you know, Danny Tinney was my uncle. He was a very, very precious man in our lives. He was very influential in our lives. And not only was he my uncle, he was a very, very good friend. Danny was born June 11th, 1938 in Lindale, Texas, to parents Charlie and Lurleen Tinney. He left to be with the Lord on March the 15th of 2016 in Houston. He was preceded in death by his parents, his son Mark, and his brother-in-law James Earl Phillips. Danny is survived by his wife Emma Alice, his son Matt of Athens, his daughter Lisa of Kingwood, brother Bob and Frida of Athens, Eddie and Sharon of Athens, Larry and Brenda of Fayetteville, North Carolina, and Rose, sister from Athens. He has 3 grandchildren, one great-grandchild, and is survived by his sister-in-law, Patsy Phillips. Danny was a graduate of Athens High School and East Texas State University. As many of you know, Danny made his career in public education, for many years serving as a coach, and for many, many years serving as a school administrator, not only in other school districts, but for at least 29 years in the Livingston Independent School District. Danny joined the LSISD staff as an elementary principal in 1977 and retired after 29 years in 2006. Danny enriched many lives, countless students, teachers, parents, school board members, and family alike. Danny had a saying that if you're doing what is right for kids, and you're doing what is right. Danny didn't just say that, Danny wholeheartedly believed that, and Danny lived that. Upon Danny's death, there were several emails that were sent to the funeral home, and they were able to share some of those with us as his family. And I will tell you that when you go through life and your life ends and you go to be with our Lord, the best legacy that you can leave behind is what others say positively about you. And I think we've got 2 statements here that speak volumes for the quality and type of man that Uncle Danny was. One writer says, "He was one of the greatest leaders I have ever known. He led all of us with great strength while remaining kind. He spoke wisdom without hesitation. He defended with passion and character the things he believed in. He loved to say, and again, if you are doing what is right for the kids, and you are doing what is right." Danny knew it was not right to take prayer out of school, so he always prayed. At school, in meetings, at parent events. He led with the Lord as his guide. He encouraged us, he complimented us, he loved us, and he loved his many, many students. What a great boss. What a great leader. What a great role model. Another person says, "I love that I got to spend so many years under Danny's leadership. Thank you to his sweet family for sharing him with us for so many years. He was indeed a wonderful role model and influenced so many lives. Many went into teaching because of his encouragement. He was always someone you could talk with, and he created an environment at the schools he led of positive, thought-provoking, and humble leadership. Danny was very active in the Lions Club for many, many years. Aunt Sissy was just telling us that for at least 30 years he sat in that chair I believe she's sitting in this morning and participated in the Lions Club. But I think if we went back in history a little bit, we would find that Danny was involved with Lions Club in places like Mineola and Athens and Commerce. He had been a Lion and a member of the Lions Club years before he came to Livingston. He served as president in Livingston from 92 to 93, and for many years he has been the chairman of the local eyeglass fund. Mr. Tinney was awarded Lion of the Year, the Melvin Jones Fellowship, and the Jack Weish Fellowship. Uncle Danny is missed every day. He was a God-loving man, and I think the one testament that speaks loudly for Danny is that he did not care if prayer has been taken out of the school. Danny Tinney was not going to allow it to be taken away from him. He prayed at school events. He prayed at faculty events. He prayed with parents. He prayed with teachers. He prayed with students. What a great, great legacy, and what a great testament to a man we all miss, to a man we all adore, and to a man we all cherish. On behalf of Mother, Aunt Sissy, and Lisa, thank y'all again for allowing me the honor. Thank you.
At this time, is there anyone who would like to share a few words of remembrance about Brother Lion Tinney? Yes, Miss Billy.
In 1987, when I moved to Livingston, I was a teacher in another school district, and I was looking for a job. And I had an interview at Livingston Elementary, and it will always be Livingston Elementary to me. And that interview was with Mr. Tinney. And we were in his office doing the interview, and he got a little tap on the door, and it was Betty Dean McClendon. And she said, "I'm so sorry, but I've got to get your signature on this." And she came in, and he knew how to connect people because my daughter was at Baylor. And he said, "Oh, Betty Dean, her daughter Renee is at Baylor." And that started a friendship between Betty Dean and me. But it also showed how he knew how to connect people and bring them together. And before she left the room, he said, "Betty Dean, she's going to be our new 4th grade teacher." And from that moment on, I knew he was an honest, good man, and he knew how to connect people. And he was a wonderful leader in our school. He always had your back, and he always treated everyone fairly. And if you sent a child to him for discipline, it was done with love. I just want to do one thing before I sit down. And this thing with Danny in the Lions Club, and I'll say this for Bill, because Bill worked on the Christmas tree lot with Danny every year. He said not a woman drove up on that parking lot that wasn't hugging on Mr. Tinney. She was either a student, a teacher, or a parent, but so many people loved on Mr. Tinney at that Christmas tree lot. I just would like to do this now. If you were a student under Mr. Tinney, would you stand up? If you were a teacher with Mr. Tinney, would you stand up? If you were a parent of a student that worked with Mr. Tinney, would you stand up? You can see how many lives he touched. And I want to say to his family what a wonderful friend he was.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
I'll
Okay.
do this from right here.
Okay.
Just a second. Margie doesn't know I'm gonna say this, but she will remember this. So I was married to a 17-year first grade teacher. She's retired now. First day, first week, goes to work. Little boy comes in and says, "My daddy said he's gonna come up here and kill you." I'm sorry, y'all. It's true. That's what he told her. She buzzed the button. Mr. Tinney came down and said, "Son, let you and me go over here and call him, and let's get him up here and see what we're gonna do about it." That's exactly, Margie, am I telling the truth about that? That's exactly what happened. But he made Terry feel so comfortable. Again, I'm sorry that it happened like that, but he took that by the horns and got right in the middle of it.
Amen. Yes, sir.
Also from right here quickly, my youngest daughter, our line sweetheart, when she was little, she came to Lions Club with me one time, and Mr. Tinney wasn't here at that week, but she was asking me who this person was and that person, and that's the county judge, and that's the mayor, and that's the bank president, and it was, oh. And the next time she came, her jaw dropped, her eyes got big, and she went, "You eat lunch with Mr.
Amen. Yes, sir.
Years ago, I was at a school board meeting with Mr. Tinney, and they went into an executive session, and he was in with them, and when he came out, he was just shaking his head. And he said, "They got to remember, these kids ain't tin cans, they can't all be stamped out the same." He said, "Some of these kids, the best they're gonna do in life is be a trash collector. And our job is to make sure they're the best trash collector they can be."
Amen. All right. If there's nothing else, we will move on. The next line we have to remember is Lion A.J. Macaulay. Mr. Macaulay was born August 1st, 1925 in Detroit, Michigan, to parents John Bartholomew Macaulay and Amy May Macaulay, and passed away January 28, 2016 in Livingston, Texas. He's preceded in death by his parents, brother Richard, sisters Ruth and Gertrude, and daughter-in-law Mary Ann. He's survived by his wife Irene of Livingston, Texas, son John of Onalaska, Texas, son and daughter-in-law Donald J. and Shauna of San Antonio, Texas, grandchildren Stephanie and husband Daryl, Terry and spouse Anitra, Robert and wife Jenna, great-grandchildren Caroline, Wyatt, Madison, and Olivia, along with numerous other relatives and friends. And I want to share with you words from his son, Don, that he wrote in honor of his father. "My father had an ease with people. He very much liked people, and they liked him. And this is what I most remember about my father. He did not have the gift of gab. He was not a joke teller or a storyteller, but he was a kidder. My brother Johnny captured our father's inherent optimism as happy-go-lucky because for the most part, he held things lightly. I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. My father had two older sisters, Ruth and Gertrude, and younger brother Richard, and their mother's name was Amy May. And in 1927, when my father was 2 years old, Amy May separated from her husband and moved from Detroit, Michigan to LaPorte, Texas. The best job she could ever held was a maid at the then famous Shamrock Hotel. The family encountered many hardships during the Great Depression, but my father only remembered the good times. My father's mother, Amy, died at age 82 in 1975 when he was 50 years of age. His father, John, died at age 55 in 1947 when he was 21 years of age. My father grew up without a present father. He did the best that he knew how to provide for his two sons with security and a better life than he knew growing up. My brother Johnny and I loved our father. He was a great dad, and he made possible the blessed lives that we both now have. My mother and father first met in high school, and Dad soon thereafter volunteered for the U.S. Navy at the age of 17. He served 3.5 years and was discharged in January 1946. He served stateside as an aviator ordnanceman. Dad sent home to his mother a monthly allotment from his pay. He never spoke of his service. It was just something that everyone did, and for him it was not a hardship. In truth, my father and his younger brother Richard both joined the service as an escape and a new beginning. Mom and Dad married by Justice of the Peace on December 29, 1945 in Jackson, Missouri. Mom and Dad were together for 70 years and 30 days. They were devoted to each other, and every evening my father would say, "Good night, sweetheart," and my mom would reply, "Good night, my love." My father worked for the Coca-Cola Company Foods Division for 38 years and rose to the position of regional sales manager. He loved his job and he was extremely loyal to the company. Dad was warmly regarded by everyone at work. He had the ability to build deep relationships with others that would often last a lifetime. This is a characteristic that I have always admired about my father. My father loved St. Luke's Episcopal Church and served as senior warden for many years. He loved this church so much that this is where he chose to intern his cremains. Our family is grateful to Reverend Link Holler, the church staff and church members who helped prepare for his memorial service. My father also loved the Lions Club and for 20 years regularly attended meetings. Our family is forever grateful to Paul Boudreau for providing him transportation to meetings in his later years. These last few years of his life have been challenging as Alzheimer's slowly erased the person that we knew. Dad was otherwise in good health. He was without chronic pain and always maintained his happy-go-lucky demeanor. He remained devoted to Mom. And our mother devoted herself to his care and relinquished control to a skilled nursing facility only for the last 2 weeks of his life. Our family is grateful to the Bradford and for the care that they provided him. My father lived a long and healthy and happy life as the patriarch of a family that loved him dearly. Our family gatherings on Thanksgiving were the highlight of the year. He writes, "I thought that I was prepared for my father's death, but the experience has been made all the more surreal by the loss of my sister-in-law, Mary Ann. She died on Tuesday evening, January 12th, at the Bradford, and my father was admitted to the same facility on Thursday of the same week, and he subsequently died 14 days later. Our family is grateful not only to the Bradford, but also to Cochran's for their thoughtful and compassionate care for both Mary Ann and their father." And he writes, "The Reverend Billy Graham once responded to an open letter where he informed the questioner that you don't just sit around in heaven, but that you are kept busy doing God's work. He didn't elaborate on what that was, but I'm sure that now that my father is in the kingdom of heaven, that whenever there is a need for a helping hand, my father will appear. He was a hard worker, and I also know that one day he and my mother will be joined together. Death is the greatest teacher, and my father teaches now." At this time, is there anyone who would like to say a word about? Yes, sir.
Thank you. We just heard a bio about Mac. I want to tell you the other side, the Mac that I knew. Mac was a real good family man. He served in the Navy, went in when he was 17 years old, served in the Navy. He was truthful to his cause back at that time. He also was, well, back in Missouri, when Mac was a teenager, he met this pretty young girl, and he fell madly in love. And that brought about a marriage of 70 years. So, Mac was real a stable man. I mean, you could depend on him. He was a friend. He loved the Lions Club. He would come here every Monday. Up until the last few weeks of his life, he came. I'm really sure that he really didn't know what was going on. but he ate very little, loved the desserts. Boy, he'd get those desserts. And most of the times, he slept through the meeting. But on the way home, he would always say, after every meeting, he said, "Boy, that was a good meeting." He just loved being here. Mac was the junior warden at his church. Now, in the Episcopal Church, the junior warden is the guy who does all the hard work. If anything goes wrong at the church, they call the junior warden, and he's the Mr. Fix-It. But Mac was ideal for the job because he could fix anything. Just loved to watch him work. We traveled a lot with Mac in Irene. Went to Nova Scotia, went on cruises, went to Colorado. There were about 8 of us that went up to Colorado, and we're all from the South. Had no idea what it was like to drive in ice and snow, but we were going up there anyway. We had a good time, had a few little incidents, but one day we were sitting in a ski lodge, looking out over the ski slope. And all these people were skiing and having a good time. And somebody in our group said, "Who's going to ski?" Nobody volunteered. And finally Mac said, "I'll do it." So Mac put on his skis, went out to the slope, and didn't get very far. It's a small slope, and fell. And this 7-year-old boy came up next to him and said, "Mister, can I help you?" But anyway, Matt, that's the kind of guy he was. He would do things like that. He was a very good friend. One instance that stands out in my mind is I was traveling from Livingston going to the lake on 190, and at 350, somebody decided to cross Highway 190. Hit me right in the side of it, and my truck just flew into the ditch. And fortunately, I had my seatbelt on and my airbag came on. Got out of the truck, climbed out of it. If you've seen that ditch, it's a big one. But climbed out of that ditch, and first I called my wife, and she wasn't at home, so it was a no-brainer who I'd call next. I called Mac and told him what happened. He said, "I'll be right there." So it wasn't very long before I could see Mac walking through the ambulance and the police cars and just through a maze of people. And when he got up to me, he said, "What do you want to do?" I said, "Well, I already told him I didn't want to go to the hospital in the ambulance." So Mac took me to the hospital. Fortunately, I just had bruises and cuts and stuff like that, and didn't have any internal injuries. But that's the kind of friend Mac was. You know you have a true friend when you call them and they say, "I'll be right there." Something I wanted to tell the Lions Club. And we meet here each week, and we see everybody, we say hello, and maybe some small talk. But you know, we really don't know each other. And I think the board ought to consider highlighting a lion every once in a while, telling not the fact that they've worked someplace for 30 years or so, but the interesting things about that particular lion. Now, I'll give you an example. Danny Tinney and I became a lion about the same time. We've been a lion for 20 years. Come here each week and we say hello and maybe talk a little. But you know, last month in the Enterprise, they had an article about Danny Tinney. And it was really, really interesting, and it showed how Danny worked for NASA and all of the good things he did in getting our spaceships up to the moon. Now, I didn't know that about Danny. When Danny walked in for these 20 years, I'd see this old guy walking in, tell him hello, but you know, when I look at Danny now, I see somebody different. I see a young guy, young engineer, who really helped this country. And I think the Lions ought to consider that because we don't know each other. We ought to. And I wish you would have known Mac Macaulay. He was quite a man.
That was a very good article about Byron, right?
I'm sorry, Bob.
Yeah, that's right. I think we all knew who you're talking about. It was. Is there anyone else before we move on? Thank you for that, brother. All right. The next Lion we are to remember is Lion Sam Gordon. Lion Sam Gordon passed away Thursday, August 27th in Lufkin, Texas. He was born on March 26, 1940 in Corsicana, Texas. Raised in Corsicana, Sam graduated from Corsicana High School in 1958 and the Agricultural and Mechanical College of Texas in 1962. He met his future bride, Margie, on a blind date in 1958. Shortly after graduation, they were married in Baytown, Texas on February 2nd, 1963. He and Margie then moved to Las Vegas, Nevada for his first job at the Titanium Metal Corporation. Sam and Margie came back to Texas in 1964, where he worked as a division manager for Gifford Hill, overseeing the daily operations of all the ready-mix plants in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. On July 4, 1968, Sam, Margie, and their 2 young daughters moved to Livingston, Texas, where he worked briefly for Ernest Reuter at Reuter's Building Materials before becoming part owner of Lakeway Building Materials. He worked at the tax office for Livingston Independent School District and served as their business manager for 10 years. In his life, Sam worked in many different capacities, but the job he loved the most was his time with the city of Livingston, first as the assistant city manager, 1984 to 1986, and then as the city manager from 1986 until his retirement in 2005. During his tenure with the city, he was instrumental in the development of Pettigo Park, successfully writing and obtaining a grant to construct the soccer and baseball fields in the picnic area by the lake. He directed the construction of the new municipal complex and police station, which opened in 1998. He oversaw the construction and upgrading of the Matthews Street Park swimming pool, jogging trail, covered picnic pavilion, and playground equipment. While he was at the helm of the city, the VF Factory Outlet Mall opened, as well as the TDCJ 2,250-bed maximum security facility. He oversaw numerous city infrastructures, airport, and recreational projects. One of his proudest accomplishments was the hiring of the city's first Parks and Recreation superintendent. In 2005, Livingston received the Main Street City designation from the Texas Historical Commission. Sam was a very active member of the Livingston community. He had been a member of the Livingston Lions Club since 1968, served as president from 1979 to 1980, zone chairman from 1990 to 1992, and treasurer at various times, and had 46 years of perfect attendance. Wow. He was a member of the Polk County Industrial and Economic Development Board, the Texas City Management Association, the Texas Public Power Association, the Sam Rayburn Municipal Power Agency, and the Small Cities Advisory Council of the Texas Municipal League. He was the past president of the Livingston Team City, in association with Entergy Economic Development Group. He served on numerous committees at the First United Methodist Church, was the past treasurer of the Polk County Mission, and was the secretary-treasurer for the Walding Hunting Club. He was an ex officio member of the Livingston Polk County Chamber of Commerce. He was the past president and tournament chair for the Livingston Men's Golf Association. He and Margie were also members of the Grasshoppers Golfing Group. Sam was preceded in death by his parents, John and Carrie, sister and brother-in-law, Wanda and Wesley, sister Bonnie, and brother Danny. He is survived by his wife of 52 years, Margie, daughter Whitney and husband Lloyd Blankenship, daughter Samantha and husband Doug Ryan, and granddaughter Holland, grandson Grayson, sister Kathy and husband Joe, sister-in-law Betsy, and a host of nieces and nephews. Before I open it up, I just want to say a word personally about Sam. I didn't really know Sam very well moving to the community, but I got to know him through what is now known as the Center of Hope, the Polk County Mission. And what struck me about Sam was his quiet faithfulness to this community. He never was in the limelight, he never wanted to be the center of attention, but there he was, always working behind the scenes. And in a day and age where everybody wants to get credit for what they do and everybody wants to have a big me sticker over them saying, look at what I did, look at what I did, Sam just stuck out to me as a man whose heart was in the right place. Because he didn't want the credit, he was just doing it because he believed in it. And because he believed in it, it was worth doing no matter who got the credit. Sam is a very important part of where the Center of Hope is today, and many of you know that I'm a part of that whole process, and the Center of Hope wouldn't be where it's at today without Sam Gordon, and he was a faithful, consistent force in that organization behind the scenes for many years, long before I came to this community. And so I'm forever thankful for his work in this community, not only in the Lions Club, but in the community by and large. So, last but definitely not least, remember Brother Sidney Smith. Sidney Ross Smith, age 90, of Livingston, Texas, died on January 14, 2016. He was known to family and friends as a kind and generous spirit throughout his life who dearly loved the Lord. He was born on September 22nd, 1925 in Livingston to Samuel Ross Smith and Thelma Faye Jackson. He attended Livingston Public Schools, and at the age of 17, he graduated from Livingston High School in the class of 1942. He attended Kemper Military Academy for 1 year. World War II was in full force, and all his Livingston friends had joined the military service, and he left for the war. He felt he should do his duty for his country and did not return to Kemper. He joined the U.S. Navy and served from 1944 to 1946. He met the love of his life while in public school by the name of Edith Ann Pratt, and they were a steady couple in high school. Upon his return from the war, he entered into business, politics, and educational and civic matters in Livingston. He advanced his efforts to improve the community by forming a family charitable foundation. Some of the benefits from the foundation were the large community clock in front of City Hall, the courthouse gazebo on Courthouse Square, and furnishing a room in the Memorial Medical Center Hospital. He made contributions to the Polk County Higher Education Foundation for a new junior college that was built, and these are simply only a few of the many charitable things that the Smith family has given to Livingston and Polk County. He was a deacon and trustee of Central Baptist Church and gave to the church the children's handbells, the pipe organ, and the piano in memory of his mother for all the members' enjoyment. And for those of you who don't know, his mother was quite the musician. He always used his time, energy, and financial gains to be a blessing to other people. Sidney was preceded in death by his beloved wife, Edith Ann, and his parents. He is survived by his sons, Bob Smith and Fred Smith. Fred is here today. And granddaughters, Christian Burkhart and husband Miles, Sidney, great-granddaughter Emily, sister Mary Alice Wise and husband Charles, nephew Charles, nieces Kathy and Lillian, and husband Al, great-nephews John, Kevin, and Nathan, great-niece Jennifer, and many cousins and friends who loved him. Sidney became a civic leader and was president of the Livingston Lions Club and president of the Polk County Chamber of Commerce. From these organizations, he received the Melvin Jones Fellow Award from the Lions Club and the Award of Special Merit from the Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors for his outstanding work. He was also selected as the Polk County of the Year by the Polk County Chamber of Commerce, and he served as Scoutmaster for several years in the Boy Scouts of America. He was elected by the citizens of Livingston to be a city alderman and served for 8 years. During this time, he also served on the State Board of Public Accounting and the founder of the Livingston Savings and Loans Association. Sidney had a great love for music, which he inherited from his mother, who was a noted pianist. And he was a member of the Livingston High School Band in his youth and joined the Livingston Community Band. And he was also a strong supporter and contributor of the Livingston Community Concert Association. He regularly gave a green and white scholarship each year for Livingston High School graduates and was honored in 2006 by being named an outstanding Livingston graduate from the class of 1942. I would just like to say, as a young pastor coming to a community, Sidney Smith was a great friend, an ally for me. I could always trust Brother Sidney to tell it to me straight, whether I wanted to hear it or not, and I always appreciated that about him. He wasn't one to mince words, and I am a man who doesn't like to mince words either, and so I appreciate that sort of counsel from someone who cares enough about you to tell you the truth. Sometimes you need to hear what you don't want to hear, but you need to hear it, amen? And Brother Sidney was always that way with me, and I'm very thankful for that, and they're very thankful for his contribution to the community. It is awesome for us to be able to take one time a year and to remember these Lions who have done so much for the community that we get to serve in, because we all sit here today as beneficiaries of the service of these four men, and we're better because of it. And so with that, let's close with the benediction. You'll see it printed there on the back of your order of service. If we could stand together and close, we'll read in unison these words. O God, before whom generations rise and pass away, we thank you for all your servants who, having lived this life in faith now, live eternally with you. Especially we thank you for our friends and fellow Lions